Okay, so necessarily and surprisingly would have opposite meaning. So if you were to say that something was not necessarily a favorite pursuit of for many divers, you'd be saying that it kind of doesn't have to be. It's not really the case that that's their favorite thing to do. Not surprisingly, is saying something about your attitude to the fact that it is their favorite pursuit. We've got some clues to which one works best here through the commas, because not surprisingly, between commas becomes a kind of uh, an adverbial that affects the next clause. Whereas if you said are not necessarily a favorite pursuit, that would be part of the next clause. Yeah. So a diver, it usually means a scuba diver.
A scuba diver, yeah.
So they like coral reefs because they can see lots of interesting fish and other creatures if they dive near a coral reef. So they're recreational divers. They're people who are diving to look at things,
So,
rather than divers like competition divers, like diving off a board. They're talking about scuba divers or maybe snorkelers,
so
really, because the reef, there's the coral which forms the reef, but it's surrounded by all of these other creatures that live there.
so
Some of them
the
eat coral, some of them eat
mm,
each other, some of them eat other things.
so the whole thing is called coral reef, yeah.
Yeah, and the coral themselves are often brightly colored, depending on the variety. So that's
Mm.
also something that recreational scuba divers like to look at. Yeah, the
So we
livelihoods of over 500 million humans.
humans.
Yeah, the 500 million people feels a little more neutral. To say 500 million humans, you might be pointing out that you're interested in livelihoods of both humans and non-humans, which is kind of weird. But it works perfectly well. It's just a very subtle distinction because humans plural is, I guess it's a slightly odd way of talking about people. It
Mm.
makes it more scientific, and so you might be getting ready to use the human non-human distinction in some
Mm.
other way. Yeah, so
The area.
what's been happening for decades and decades now is the coral has been dying.
Oh, they will die too. Okay.
Yeah, so when they die, the fish that live there can't live there anymore, and so they die. And then instead of being a kind of beautiful, interesting environment, it just becomes like rocks.
Mm.
So when they talk about high quality reef, they're talking about reef that supports diverse coral, lots of marine life, the sorts of things people value when they go to visit and look at these. So I think that's what high quality here means. And they're saying that it's that the area that's covered by that sort of reef is going to halve.
I
I've been in the news from coral bleaching events. Yeah, it's a euphemism. What actually happens is, yes, they turn white, but that's because they're dead.
Mm.
So what you have left, in effect, is just the skeletons of the coral, none of the living creatures.
Oh, very bad.
Mm.
And
Um, well, I guess in combination with the very real threat of climate change, which could lead to increased seawater temperatures and ocean decreasing, I guess it'd be ambiguous what was decreasing. If you said it was ocean decreasing, do you mean ocean level decrease, which is not what happens? But also, do you mean ocean? It feels like we need more information if we're going to ocean something decreasing could work, depending on what that something was. Whereas acidification is the noun there and ocean then becomes like an adjective. It's the change of the ocean through this process of becoming more acidic. So ocean decreasing kind of, if you tried to use that, you would need an extra word there to fill out
Mhm.
what that was.
So
This is a new idea that they're introducing here in combination with the very real threat of climate change, which could lead to seawater temperature increase and ocean acidification. So they're
Mhm.
telling us about how climate change could make the ocean more acidic.
Oh,
And this is
acidic. Mm,
yeah, this is the first time they've mentioned that specifically.
Great.
Yeah.
I got